Can everybody hear me okay? Is that all right? I'm clear? Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, guten tag, buenas tardes, ni hao, Ignacio. Okay, we have a few Chinese speakers. Bonjour, shalom. Okay, salam alaikum. Okay, so, and Wale? Any Latin speakers? No? Okay. All right. So those are all the languages I know how to say hello in, so sorry if I didn't cover you, but... okay, so my name's Kevin Schooler. Yes, Schooler is my surname. Kind of unfortunate when I was going through school, but I guess it's kind of appropriate. Anyway, I work for Autodesk, and I actually have probably, well, in my estimation, one of the coolest jobs in the world, because not only do I get to come and talk to guys like you, but I also get to play with really cool toys, and I get to travel over the world. Not too bad. And I get paid to do it, no less. So today I want to do a little bit of a demonstration, but first I'll talk about Autodesk Animation Academy. Who's familiar with Autodesk, by the way? Okay, just a few of you, not that many percentage-wise. Okay, if you're looking into getting into games, I guarantee that Autodesk's name is going to come up more and more. How many of you have heard of Maya, for example? Okay, a few more. Okay, that's an Autodesk product. Okay, Max, 3D Studio Max, or 3ds Max? Yeah, okay. Softimage, maybe? Okay, a few of you. Mudbox. All right. Motion Builder. Got a few Motion Builder people. Okay, great. Okay, well, those are all our products. And I don't have the time to talk about all of them, but you know, maybe we'll have a little time for questions at the end, and we can just get into that a little bit further. But for right now, I just want to talk about Autodesk Animation Academy and sort of what we do. And for students, we take a very hands-on approach and trying to provide the most tools to you guys at as low cost as possible. And there's no low cost better than free, right? So I'll show you how to get to that, the free software at the end here. Anyway, so here's the agenda, more words, blah, blah, blah. I won't get into all this. I didn't write this PowerPoint. I don't like PowerPoint. I'll try not to kill you with it, so I might skip a couple of these. So Autodesk, so what do we do? We're a world leader in 2D and 3D design for entertainment, engineering, and design software. Everything needs to be designed from a highway to a mouse to a video game, right? To films. You're probably familiar with, I don't know, Avatar, small film, was in the theaters. Iron Man 2. Those were, you know, our products were used on those kinds of productions. But they're also used in the vast majority of games that you play for all the consoles, PC, and actually quite a few iPhone and iPad applications as well if they have 3D in them. So with that, we have 9 million professionals using our products in the vast majority of the countries. We have over 2 million students. Better by design, this is just sort of one of our corporate little messages that everything's better with by design. I don't know, I didn't write this. I think it's a little bit of a joke because of course everything's better by design. Is it better like by chaos? Of course not. So you have to design everything. So what you're doing when you're either designing a game or designing a building is the same thing. You're actually competing for people's money. And more than anything else, you're actually competing for their time, because time, far more than money, is the most precious commodity. Always has been and always will be, because you know money comes and goes. You can always trade gold, food, whatever. Time, once it's gone, it's gone. So you want to be able to design things the most efficient way possible, the quickest way possible, the way that's on budget, both in time and money, the best way possible. So with that, you know, we do a lot of like digital prototyping. We do a lot of architecture work. Sustainable design. We hear a lot about like green design. And what does that tie into games? Well, maybe you know, on the surface it might not tie into games, but the reality is games are used for a lot more for just entertainment. They're used for simulations. They're used for therapy. And they're used for just like virtual reality to sort of pre-visualize, you know, like say a park or a building or a hospital or that sort of thing. And we've also come up with the digital entertainment creation. That's sort of our concept, and we have digital entertainment creation suites, which are basically a package of all our entertainment-based software available for you. So media entertainment, that's the division that I work for, and I've been with Autodesk for about 4 years now. Prior to that, I worked in film and games and television, so it was a natural fit for me. And so our main missions are to foster, obviously, creative innovation, increase productivity, production efficiency, and productivity just in general, and maintain creative intent. So all we're really doing is providing really elaborate paintbrushes. That's all we're doing. That's all we can ever do. It's really up to you guys to take them and to turn them into the modern day, you know, masterpieces that are, you know, the top selling games and films and so on and so forth. So this is another concept that we've sort of come up with, the gamification of everything. I mentioned that before. It's like, well, wait a minute, you know, games, they're just something that you play at home or maybe online, right? Well, not necessarily anymore. Now, in automotive, Ford Motor Company in Michigan, they have a motion capture stage. Most of you are familiar with motion capture? Probably, most of you? Maybe? None? Okay, we got a couple. All right. Don't be shy to raise your hand. I know you guys aren't shy, by the way. I think I might need a bodyguard if I decide to give something away, by the way. But in any case, you know, they have a motion capture system using Motion Builder to actually sit into basically a mock-up of a car. And so they're actually using basically a game system to design the ergonomics of a car. Pretty innovative stuff. So even if you think, well, gosh, you know, I like to play games, but, you know, I'm really more into architecture. I'm really more into product design. I'm really more into environmental issues. I'm really more into social issues, like how people, you know, like sociology, how people move through open spaces and how they congregate. You know, games still apply, even in medical technology. So the gamification, they're everywhere, and they're in everything. They're on your phone. They're, you know, obviously in your home. They're everywhere. 3D in films, don't really need to get into that. It's pretty self-explanatory. 3D in games, obviously. There we have you know, our Assassin's Creed, which is one of our you know, pretty popular series of games. Ubisoft, a very good customer of ours. And we've got InDesign visualization, which I mentioned before. See how cleverly we put the Max logo in the middle of with the gobo of the shadow there? Yeah, really clever, huh? Learning content for the Animation Academy. It's really creative. It's based on small doses of success. You know, a lot of mistakes, or the very common mistake that a lot of students make, and I was certainly this way when I was a student, is that, you know, like, oh gosh, I want to have 40,000 cavalrymen charging over a hill. It's going to be really great. And I tried to be, you know, I'm going to model everything, and I'm going to texture everything, I'm going to light everything, and it's just going to be brilliant. It's going to be like, you know, Wizard of Oz times 10. And, but the fact of the matter is I was only one guy, right? And I was working on, of course, much older machines than what we have now. And you start running into these little or very large roadblocks. Either, you know, you don't have the processing power, or you don't have the, you know, the know-how to accomplish some of these things. So that's what small doses of success are. It's taking these modular lessons and going, oh, this is how I understand that concept. I can plug that concept into my final product if I want. It's just about, you know, getting little bits and pieces. You know, it's like, it's not getting everything all at once. You'd be overwhelmed. Nobody would learn anything. So it's small doses of success. So it's project-based. That is very smart, because doing things project-based, that's how things are in the real world. And they build in difficulty, of course. So, you know, you start simple and you get more complex. Makes sense, right? And they're flexible. So you can sort of ignore the parts that you don't want to focus on. You can focus more on the parts that you do like, that sort of thing. We also have solutions for teachers. I don't know how many teachers we have in here. Probably a couple, handful maybe. And I'm more than happy to give you more resources on this after we chat here. But I don't want to bore you guys with a bunch of these. So more about this. The Academy was created by industry professionals. It's based around a creative workflow, so that means it's not about you know, just doing just the bare essentials, nuts and bolts. It's really about creating some kind of piece of art or something that's actually fun or interesting. You know, it's based on a 3-tier structure, and well, you know what, I'll just point you to the link, and then and you can sort of decide for yourself. I'm not really going to get a lot into this. Here's sort of the structure. Here's the 3-tiered approach. You can go along through Max, Maya, Sketchbook Pro, which is a 2D software, which actually runs on the iPad, by the way, which is kind of cool. Mudbox and Motion Builder. We may in the future add Softimage, if I'm not mistaken. So Softimage doesn't have a huge market share in Australia, but you know, it is growing a little bit. And you can just sort of see it's fairly self-explanatory. You know, you go through the conceptual stage first, and then getting the design down, the story narrative, and so on and so forth. The anatomy, the motion, you know, it's like how are we doing things? You know, Motion Builder is obviously more focused on real time. That's where we see it on the right side there. 3D Max is more on the design side. So you have different products kind of focusing on different things, and it all comes together on a project. for games or visual entertainment. So more words, blah blah blah. I don't like doing PowerPoints. You guys probably don't like seeing them. But I guess it's important, but I'm not going to read it to you. I will say, though, explores the industry workflow and processes. There's often a divorce between what teachers will tell you and what actually happens in sort of the real world. And that's no fault of the teachers. They're doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. But schools, less so now, but very often they kind of work in sort of a bubble. You sort of stick to a curriculum, and it's not being updated. Well, everything in the outside world is being updated all the time. So there's new information coming up and new workflows. So you want something that's a workflow that's industry relevant, and that's useful for teachers as well. So it's good for everyone all around. Level 1, obviously interface, menus, texturing basics, and you've got a bunch of videos. And, so that basically goes over all those sorts of things. And, let's see if I can. Shut up. Like I said, I didn't build this. I think, is this my level 2? There we go. Level 2. You've got more about storytelling, space and architecture, really kind of the principles of how things are animated. What's real time all about? Why is real time visualization important? We might get into the sort of the fundamentals of like squash and stretch and how good stories are told in games, in film, in television. Screenshots, and then level 3 is basically getting everything together, as well as doing things like hair, cloth, soft body dynamics, that sort of thing. And you get your character. Obviously, you can see sort of the concept on the bottom, and then the semi-final character on the top, and then you eventually create your demo. So you're given a lot of tools. So it's all one thing to just sort of talk about, but I want you to definitely check this out. Definitely go log on to these sites immediately. More information about the Academy on the top link there. The second link, thearea.com. That is, anybody going to thearea.com? Maybe a few of you, a couple of you? Okay, a screamer anyway. Do you do that every time you log on? Like, woo, I'm on. All right, maybe. Oh, okay, all right. Wasn't expecting that sort of response, but that's cool. Anyway, what's cool about both of these things are they're free. So you get 12 months of software free, and it's not watermarked or anything else. It's just like in your hands, ready to go. And if you choose to purchase, then we've got student discounts as well. With the area, it's free. It's completely free. It's an open forum. So if you want to do nothing but complain about Autodesk, you're free to do that. I hope that you don't. I hope that you actually just post things like questions and get some answers. And it's worldwide. You also get free models, free tutorials, it's often with videos, textures, scripts, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really awesome, and you should definitely check it out. So thank you very much, and I'll get. That's just the boring stuff. It's really relevant, but it's quite but it's a little bit dull to look at PowerPoint. So, but definitely check those links out. If you miss them, then maybe I'll bring them up at the end. I don't know how much time I have. I'll try to get through this as quickly as I can, and maybe we have some time for questions at the end. By the way, there was some talk about Guitar Hero earlier. Does anyone know what the initial investment was in Guitar Hero? It was Activision. The answer is about roughly $1 million, roughly, U.S. Do you know what sales have made? Roughly? $2 billion. So, if nothing else, if your parents say, "Hey, why are you wasting time with video games?" point out that statistic. All right. So, of course, somebody actually had to make that game. They just didn't play it all day. So, there's a method to the madness. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about Mudbox, and what Mudbox is basically is it's a 3D sculpting program. And it allows us to very quickly sort of sculpt in details, not surprisingly, into our models. We can also paint our models as well. This guy happens to be one of the default humanoid characters, although you can import characters from Max, from Maya, and from Softimage if you wish, and then you want to sculpt over the top. So sculpting is not exactly the same as modeling. Sculpting's a subset of modeling, but it's not necessarily like polygon creation, so to speak. I don't want to get into too heavily of a lesson. I just sort of want to expose you to the tool. Anyway, so obviously there's been some work done to this guy, and for those of you who are familiar somewhat with maybe Photoshop, or perhaps, how many Photoshop heads do we have? Quite a few of you. All right, you work in layers all the time, right? So, well, this works essentially the same way. You have layers and that you sculpt or paint on. And you also have layers on which or each layer rather is tied to a level of resolution. Okay, so when you up the resolution, you add more density to the mesh. The mesh is this guy right here. If I'm using terminology you're not familiar with, I apologize, but it will all sort of make sense in a moment here. But most of you guys are gamers, so you probably understand most of this sort of thing. Probably all of you guys are gamers, right? Okay, so this guy obviously has had a little bit of a run and looks like he's been squished in the face. And so the concept of this character was supposed to be that he's kind of a kind of like a leech type character, and as you encounter from day to day. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of some wrinkles and so forth. So we have this on level 4, so it's a level of resolution. And down here, hopefully you can see this. I know it's a little bit dark up there, but down here we actually have what's called a vector displacement brush. Now I could sculpt this with any way that I want. Let's just go ahead and turn off our stamp here, and we're just going to go to our fall off. So we see our fall off right here. Whoops, I'm locked to that layer, so let me just... So you see that as I go up and down in the resolution, so I'm using page up, and it subdivides, and then it subdivides again, and so on and so forth. That's what my resolution's all about. So I'll turn off my wireframe because it renders a little bit better. All right, so I'm there, and then I can start... Whoa, that's way too strong. So I use the M key to reduce the strength. The mnemonic device that I use is M for magnitude, but it really means strength. So I can start to sculpt in whatever details that I want. If I want to reverse the brush, I hit the control key. So now I'm digging rather than raising the geometry. So control Z to undo. And I can also use whatever, what's called a stamp to sort of texture that brush. So if I go here, use my stamp spacing, my stamp image rather, I'm going to bring up my brush size by hitting the B key. See how that's bringing in that sort of pattern? Does that make sense? All right, but what's really cool, and what was traditionally kind of hard to do in years past, was to get really the sort of effect that you might get with a brain, where things are just really curved in on themselves, that sort of dug in kind of look. And that's what vector displacement is about. Vector displacement allows for that sort of, well, basically if you can see right here, we've actually have color information, and that color information tells the software to say, hey, I want to dig in or raise out based on XYZ coordinates, okay? So again, I don't want to get too much into the lesson here, but by the way, if you have any questions about these, just hover your mouse over something, and then it usually gives you gives you a little bit of an explanation for what the sort of thing is. All the keys are customizable. You can set your hotkeys to whatever. So I'll put this to set my stamp to that, and I'm going to change my fall off to full, so it's not going to, so it's going to be a rigid fall off basically, and I'm going to increase my strength, not my actual strength, the strength of my brush. If only things were that easy in life, but sadly I chose a life behind a computer, so I pay people to beat other people up for me. Anyway, and so then now you can see how that I'm getting that sort of dug in look, so imagine if you're doing brains or intestines or that sort of thing. Just really dug in. And I should point out, this is a 3-year-old laptop. It was pretty good when I first got it, but it's 3 years old. It's quite worn out. It's not an up-to-date operating system. My drivers aren't up-to-date, but I'm still getting pretty good performance. That's because Mudbox is designed in such a way to take advantage of all your hardware in a very efficient way. So let's say, I like this, but it's just a little too intense. Or let's say I like it, but my boss says, you know what, just tone it down. I want that exactly. Where you go, well, damn it, I can't. I already, what am I going to do? Well, actually, it's no problem because I can just go down here to the layers and I can just sort of soften those up. Or I can reverse them. So I can inverse that to, say, minus 100. Now, it'll look a little weird, but you can do it if you want. So we'll put that to 100, or you can say, well, boss, what do you think with it on? Well, what if it's off? Just do what you want to do. Okay, so that sort of same concept was applied here with the mouth folds. So this would be very difficult to model by hand, in sort of a traditional sense, but through sculpting it makes it very intuitive and very simple. We can also pose the characters. Posing is really great. So if you just want to create sort of like a sculpture, like in sort of a kind of like a Renaissance style or a classical Greece style, we can do that. Or for whatever reason, we can turn these all into blend shapes or morph targets if we want to use them later on in Maya or Max. So if we go over to our pose tools, I'm just going to down-res this guy just for a second, just because the performance will be a little bit better. We'll go to a layer that right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create a joint, not that kind of joint, different kind of joint. Somebody got it. The stoners got it. And then what I'm doing here is basically I'm adjusting the fall off. So what I'm going to do is, you see that sort of green line that's sort of bisecting the leg there? And then I've got the arrow that goes down. The arrow that's pointing downward right there is, that's my fall off. And the line that's bisecting the leg, that's where the fall off begins. So it'll make sense in a minute. So if I grab that, then you see that the highlights, and then when I grab the, just sort of rotate them around, then I can move them around accordingly. So if I want to just go ahead and put one right there, something like that, and then pose that. And remember how I said I could inverse the brush before, like so I could either create a bump or sort of dig in by using the control key? Well, I can do the same thing here. So if I just, just by clicking my mouse and dragging, I get that sort of effect. But if I hit the control key, then everything but that green area moves, right? So just something to be aware of. So I'm just going to undo these couple moves. Whoops. Well, like I said before, not at the updated drivers, but that's all right. Oh wait, I think I just unhit a. I think I just unhit a layer, perhaps. But let's see if it comes back. So he's, this guy's had a rough day, as you can see. I think this one actually has a pose on it. There we go. So that sort of tortured soul look. So anyway, if I want to go further with this, I might not. But let's see. I think I've got a couple. This guy actually has some. Oh, that's locked. So we'll go up one to level 5. Now we're at 2 million polygons here. And then we have these teeth. Now these teeth, they might look like they're kind of somewhat difficult to model, but the fact is that they were actually quite easy. So we'll just grab a semi-smooth area on him right here. And we're going to use a different kind of vector displacement. So we'll go back to our stamps, and we'll go over here. And we'll just click that. And so you can't really, you just barely can make out that dot there, but that's the vector displacement map that I'm going to use. And I'm going to make sure it's really high. I don't need to necessarily have my mirror on, because it mirrors the, the effect on one side. I'm going to turn my stamp spacing. So if I just hover over my stamp spacing, you sort of see the difference between like just sort of dragging across, or as opposed to like if you want to do something like rivets, where things have a regular, interval between each one, that sort of thing. So let's go up to the layer there. And you can see that I'm sort of creating these bumps, but that's really just not high enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit undo on that one. And I'm going to just up this to, say, 500%. Over 9,000! You didn't think an old guy like me knew that what that was all about, did you? But I do. So then you can see that I can sculpt out these teeth in a very specific way. And with the vector displacement, it actually has curved information. So let's go ahead and undo that. And I'm actually just going to undo the teeth here. And boy, I wish I hadn't have roughed that guy up, but that's okay. I guess I could always, well, I'm not going to relaunch it. It's not really that big a deal. Let's go ahead and go back down one level and change his pose. Take off that pose. There we go. Then we'll go up one more level. See how everything's sort of tied to a different level of resolution? Does that make sense to everybody? And what level did I say I was on? 5? There we go. Now you can sort of see what I'm doing there, but let's go ahead and turn on that. Let's actually really up that. Well, then you wouldn't be able to see it because it would literally come out beyond the width of the screen. But was that a Star Fox reference? Yeah, I know Star Fox. I was playing Star Fox when you guys were twinkles in your parents' eyes. Okay, so with mirror on, you can see how very easily we can start getting these sorts of effects. But also notice how it's a little bit weird. Like these are not necessarily pointing in the right direction. So we can always undo that, and we can always just rotate this around. Hit the rotate, see what we get. Add something a little bit more what we want. So not really somebody you want to meet in a dark alley, but it's pretty awesome. And by the way, if I just go ahead and increase this, you can make them whatever size you want. So they need not be teeth necessarily. By the way, there's a whole bunch of vector displacement maps available on the area. So if you want to play around with this sort of thing, it's all available to you. Here we have one over here. This is a stencil. Stencils work almost the same way as a stamp, only they are actually just sort of like a projection that we work with. So let's go ahead and turn off our stamp image there. And we're going to go back to a normal fall off. So let's change that fall off to something about like so. And we'll put that to 100. I don't know what kind of effect we'll get, but let's just try it out. So go to our stencil. And we're going to, now it just looks like a little bit of color information there. But maybe some of you are modelers, perhaps, or wanting to be modelers, but I'll challenge you. Let's just have a contest. We'll model ears and we'll see who's faster. Ready, set, go. So that's pretty, if there's a faster way to make an ear, I don't know what is. But by the way, if I wanted to sort of smooth that out, I could do that as well. Increase my strength on that. And let's go ahead and turn off that. By the way, it also made it on the other side. So this guy doesn't get as many dates on a Saturday, but yeah, I can't imagine, but it's, so there's quite a lot you can do with it. And I think we've got some spine, the same sort of thing going on with his spine as well. Let's see if we got his chest plate. So it looks kind of disgusting, but that's kind of what you want in a game. That's sort of the look that we sort of expect. I don't think there's anything on this layer. So that's that in a nutshell. For example, if I go to, you can create all this just out of a cube or a spheres potentially. So let's not save that, and let's just sort of see what's up with this this line here. This is something that I did just late at one night. I just was goofing around. I do not mean to say that this is a final product, but this was made from a cube. So if you can sculpt a car out of a, it's like, let's just go back. So we're turning off our layers, so we're kind of going back in time, so to speak. So, and we'll go there, and then we'll go page down to reduce to level 7. Reduce that sculpt layer. Looks more like a house cat now, rather than a lion, I guess. And then we'll go down one more layer, level. You sort of see how it's, obviously I can't recreate this in real time for you because it took about an hour, I guess, for me to do this. And you start to see like how this was just originally just a cube that's been sort of manipulated in different ways. And then, of course, we have the main cube there. So I probably should have started with something perhaps a little bit more intuitive, but that's okay. That's how it works. So, and by the way, I also obviously had painted on the top of this, so this has some, obviously some reflections going on with it. Some, you know, I've painted in some of the dark areas and so forth. So, it's works the same way. I'm not going to get into the paint tools too much, but you have your different paint layers that that you can work on, and you can also adjust, you know, your reflections and how how shiny things are with adjusting the specularity layer and so forth. So if I just click this and let's go ahead and create a new layer, we'll make this a diffuse layer, which is basically your basic paint layer. Yeah. It gives the warning, but it doesn't mean it. So sometimes it's literally just, you know, painting on something. You have a picture that you like, go ahead and paint with that. So if I, you know, paint with that little stamp there, this happens to be obviously a brass lion. It's a picture I took in Toronto. So actually, for a second, let me go to my paintbrush, turn off mirror. I'm going to put this color to white so we can see this a little bit better. I'm going to increase my brush size, something like that. So there's going to be some distortion, of course, because if I turn that off, now when I move this over, of course, it's all going to stretch. So you have to bear this in mind when you're actually building these things and painting these things. So, you know, just keep it in mind. But it's like, I just, you know, don't like that, so I'll just go back to what I liked before, and we'll go back forward in time. Oh, whoops. Go back to my sculpt layers. Anyway, that's Mudbox in a very, very brief nutshell. I could talk to you guys about all this stuff for 10 hours. I don't know how, I'm probably running out a little low on time. How are we doing on time? Well, okay. I think we have time for a couple of questions, perhaps. Okay, it's going to be a little bit chaotic, but let's get a girl first. Because, you know, it's got to... well, long hair, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a... Okay, dark-haired right in the middle there. Aha, we have a microphone avenger.
Testing.
I left my cape at home.
Between, like, such mutilating projects like the man, if you call him, from before, and something like cute, what are the... I don't know how to explain it. What are the limits that you go to?
Limits as far as, you mean just like geometry limits?
Yeah, like how graphic do you get?
How graphic do I get? I get very graphic. In fact, I've almost been fired several times. But that's a whole other story. You have no idea. How graphic do you get? Well, you're often limited by your hardware, all right? So I happen to be using a PC. There was a little bit of a heated discussion before about, well, do you want Linux? Do you want Windows? Do you want Apple? What are you going to do? And the right answer is, whatever works best for you. For example, 3ds Max is a Windows-only platform. Maya works on everything. Well, not everything. It works on a few different versions of Linux as well as Windows and PC. So to answer your question, it really sort of varies. You can have upwards of millions of polygons per character. I don't recommend that for the home user. You can have up to billions for environments. Again, home user, that's not necessarily valid, but when you started getting into the avatars and things like that, you do really start getting into the millions and billions of things like leaves and whatever. Texturing, it really sort of varies again on your graphics card. 2K textures are pretty common. 2K square. Usually have multiple layers. Usually have a diffuse layer and at least probably either an alpha channel and probably some kind of a bump or displacement map. I'm probably talking gibberish to some of you, so I hope that some of this makes sense. But
I got some of it.
That's kind of a difficult question. It's sort of like saying, well, how fast is a car? They could be, they could be, if it's an old car, maybe very, very slow, or if it's something like a souped-up supercar, it's 300 kilometers an hour, right? So it's dependent a lot on your hardware. The software is not as limited. With 64-bit, you have access to more RAM than you could ever put into a machine. So that's not really your bottleneck generally.
How about compared to Avatar? How well have you done?
With Avatar,
Oh, I don't know if you were.
I did not work on Avatar myself, but I did work with the team that worked on Avatar.
Yeah?
So partially because I'm based in Australia and New Zealand, so I go over to Weta every once in a while, sort of check on and see what those guys need help with and so forth. And generally, they tell me what to do. I'm the one who needs help because those guys are a lot of geniuses. Something like Avatar, there's a lot of secret proprietary things that they're doing, but they had up to thousands of characters on screen at a time. Of course, there's a lot of compositing. It doesn't necessarily correlate to games. Now, with games, you might look at it like, well, what's the difference between like a television show and a play? You might sort of think it's like that's the difference between a film and a game. Because a game, everything has to happen in real time, always.
Yeah.
You fake a lot of things. You fake a lot of shadows. You fake a lot of geometry by doing displacement maps. But as far as, when you look at things like Avatar, it's not really the most realistic test because we're talking about literally millions of hours to render. And of course, over thousands of processors, so the time is reduced. But as opposed to what an Xbox or PS3 or a Wii can do, which is not billions of characters, or millions of characters, I should say. That's a very long explanation. It doesn't really answer very much. I'm sorry I can't be more specific because it's just, it's a very, very broad question.
That's okay. Thank you.
All right. Right there in front. Sorry to make you run back and forth. I didn't.
How much would a student Mudbox or any of that program would cost for us?
Well, initially, nothing. So you should download the free trials right away and just sort of see if you like it. I'm kind of put in somewhat the awkward position where, because I'm not actually a sales guy, and I don't want to actually quote you a number, but I'm more than happy to, maybe we can talk offline, or I can leave my email. I'm more than happy to put you in touch with sort of our resellers, because Autodesk generally does things through resellers. It's just the way we work. And it's not, I don't mean to be secretive, but it varies. Some people from different parts of the world are watching, and the pricing models are a little bit different because currency levels and stuff like that. But for Australia, I honestly could not tell you for student prices. Yeah, I mean, I've got a stack of cards here. I'm more than happy to talk to you offline, maybe, and we can sort of exchange information. And also, just check out the Autodesk website. They'll put you in touch with the right people as well. Okay, right
We're
there.
We've got another 2 more questions.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he won. Like, how long would it take to render like a movie like Avatar? Because I've got Blender and it takes like up to like a couple of seconds to render a cube on it.
How long would it take to render a movie like Avatar?
Yeah.
Well, again, like literally millions of hours.
Huh.
I mean, I'm not kidding. Millions of hours, but spread across many thousands of processors.
Yeah.
So it's the thing about Avatar or Iron Man or Lord of the Rings or whatever, they make it look easy. You don't really realize how much of that is actually CG until you realize like, oh, everything, every leaf, every texture, every shadow. All that has to be processed.
Okay.
There we go.
Was this a program where you could, say, code skins or model skins for games?
Yes.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Again, pretty much every game that you have that has 3D in it for any sort of 3D element, for any PC or console game made within the last few years uses our products. That right there. I mean, the end of statement. So I think we're...
Yeah.
No, well, I just wanted to say, like, nobody wanted to ask about the $5 bill that was on my... They were trying to? No, the answer is not for the king.
No, make it quick. Make it super quick. Come on.
No, it's too late now. Too late? No. No. Just do it.
What is?
Okay. What is with the $5 and can I have it?
You can have it because the $5 is for whoever asks for it. So asking questions. But yeah,
Freak bright.
well, he's going to be beat up later, so rest assured that it's all right. If I had more time, what I usually do is I have 2 different bills. Like the one's for the first guy who asks about it, the next one's for the last question asked. So people keep asking questions, but we don't have that kind of time, unfortunately. So definitely check out the Autodesk website, check out the area, drop me a line or find me afterwards. I'm based in Australia, so hopefully we can chat some more. And I'd love to talk to you guys for more, 10 hours, but I don't think they'll let me.
No, unfortunately not.
Thank you very much for your time. Again, time the most precious commodity.
Round of applause, guys.
So,
Well, that was Kevin from Autodesk. Thank you again. And we're going to quickly set up for the next segment now. So we're just going to have to run some filler, which I know you guys...